Welcome, everyone. Please come on in. Thank you for joining us. Okay, everybody's coming in. Welcome. I'm just going to share my screen. A lot of you know me already. If you don't, my name is Layla Wills, and I am the Executive Director of the Historical Preservation Society. Hopefully you can see my screen fine. And we were established in 2021, the Historical Preservation Society of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. Our board consists of members of the party and second generation, those of us whose parents were in the party. And before we get started tonight, I want to thank everyone who did donate ahead of this program because your donations make these things possible. Isaac, Larry, Chuck, Rachel, George, Rose, and John Rice, thank you so much for donating. I'm just going to make a few brief remarks as we turn over the program that is going to be streamed live from Ward Chapel. These programs, this is our second installment of free programming, community programming, as we get ready for Mark Clark's birthday, which is Saturday, June 28th, where we will be installing and dedicating a historical marker for the Black Panther Party breakfast program that Mark started at Ward Chapel. You will hear a lot more about Ward Chapel. If you missed our last program, it is available on our YouTube channel. Join our email list. We'll send out the link. I believe it's already on our website. And Ward Chapel and the Clark Virtual Museum will share both, and will share tonight's program. The Clark Virtual Museum is done by the family of Defense Captain Mark Clark. So we invite you to join their museum and go and see all of the curated content that they have for you. I'm rushing through because I want us to hurry up and get to Ward Chapel. As I said in our last program, I can talk nonstop for an hour or longer, but that's not what this is about. So as I said, this is our second installment. Our last online presentation will be on April the 15th, where you will hear about the community planning going on, not just for the dedication on June 28th, but for the Mark Clark Memorial Park that will be built on Ward Chapel's church grounds in honor of Mark. And I'll let them tell you more about the park, and you'll find out more on the 15th. After the 15th, we will be in person in Peoria. If you're able to join us, please do, especially on May 3rd and June 28th. May 3rd, Ward Chapel is reinstituting Mark's feeding program, which ran nonstop until the COVID pandemic, where they had to cease operations. But they will be relaunching that on May 3rd, and we will be there in person, volunteering and just helping it to be a fantastic day. And our dedication ceremony is on June 28th for the dedication of the historical marker for the Black Panther Party Heritage Trail in Illinois. So thank you. With that, I did a whole presentation last time. Today is all about Ward Chapel. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite Reverend Dr. Elaine Gordon on, the first female pastor, first woman pastor of the historic Ward Chapel. She's now retired, and I am going to turn over the program to her and Pastor Burns. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Layla, and thank you so much for all that you continue to do to make moments like this possible. I'm over the moon tonight. I'm literally trying to keep from levitating because this is the moment we have been longing for. And for those who can see the audience on the screen, will the Clark family, will y'all just wave your hand? The folk online can see you. There you go. Power to the people. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
We're so glad to have you in the house today. I'm trying not to cry. But I won't belabor the point. I am retired, but I continue to work in this project because in retirement, you can do what you want to do. And this is a labor of love for me. This is what I want to do. But we have an angel over this house, and I thank the Lord for the leadership of the Reverend Dr. Cyrus J. Burns, our newly assigned pastor, one whom I've adopted. He is my son. So let us receive Pastor Burns.
Thank you so much, Elder Elaine, and I'm just so excited to be here as well. Thank you all so much for coming, and it's a pleasure to meet the Clark family. Shall we begin? It was 1787, and a band of freed African slaves were on their knees praying at St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church. The backstory is that the growing numbers of blacks made the white worshipers uncomfortable, so much so the ushers pulled them from their knees at the hour of prayer. Legend has it that Reverend Richard Allen, elected and consecrated bishop in 1816, rose in righteous indignation, declaring, "Let us finish praying, and we will trouble you no more." Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, and others walked out of St. George's and founded the Free African Society in a blacksmith shop with the anvil as the pulpit. That is how the logo became the anvil and the cross. The Free African Society was committed to the liberation, education, and empowerment of Africans in America. The focus was on establishing parallel institutions and land acquisitions. Early projects of the Free African Society were the Christian Reporter, this nation's oldest and continuously operating newspaper owned and operated by Blacks in America, and the Free Burial Society, established to ensure the proper burial of people of African descent. Allen and his followers purchased land from Quakers, who were early abolitionists, and sold parcels of land to Blacks on a lease-to-own basis, enabling them to farm the land and sell their crops for income to support their families. Early branches of the Free African Society established schools, often one-room classrooms where children from K through 12 learned in the same space. Literacy programs were established for the adults, acknowledging that to read was liberating. The Free African Society formed legal alliances, thereby negotiating the purchase of freedom for slaves who remained in bondage. As you can imagine, the society grew rapidly and branches started springing up. The Methodist Episcopal Church fought the formal organization of what today is the African Methodist Episcopal Church, fearing they were losing control of the growing group of freed slaves. In 1816, the Free African Society was incorporated as the African Methodist Episcopal Church after years of court battles. With the rapid growth and expansion of the A.M.E. Church, it wasn't long before the Midwest was the birthing ground of many congregations, with the first being Mount Pleasant A.M.E. Church in Carthage, Indiana, Old Beach Settlement, in 1836. 3 months later, Bethel A.M.E. Church in Richmond, Indiana was formed, followed by Bethel A.M.E. Church, Indianapolis, Indiana, all in the same year. This was part of the trail of the Right Reverend Paul Quinn, elected and consecrated bishop in 1844, whose efforts resulted in the proliferation of congregations throughout the Midwest and the South. Many of our early A.M.E. congregations served as stops on the Underground Railroad throughout the 19th century, and some of our historical buildings still sit over the tunnels traveled by those on their way to freedom in Canada. There are those buildings that have preserved the trap doors used to let the escapees in for food and refreshment. In 1846, 1 year after the incorporation of Peoria as a city, Ward Chapel A.M.E. Church was founded in a home with only 10 members, becoming the first house of worship in the newly formed city. Ward Chapel was introduced into the Connectional African Methodist Episcopal Church, becoming part of a freedom movement across the nation. Following after the tradition of our founding father, Ward Chapel has served as a beacon of light for 178 years. Ward Chapel, under the leadership of Rebecca Elliott, started an early childhood education program for Negro children when Blacks were not admitted to the school system. Ward Chapel provided a place for discourse on matters of oppression and segregation, inviting such brilliant minds of the day like Fredrick Douglas. Ward Chapel hosted Mahalia Jackson and Marian Anderson, along with civil rights leaders such as Maynard Jackson. Down through the years, Ward Chapel flourished in the Peoria community, taking a lead in strategic planning for the advancement and progress of Black people. One such notable was the late Frank Campbell, first director of the Tri-County Urban League, and Curly Mae Bonds, who championed the cause of Blacks through the NAACP. The following video will give you a bird's eye view of Ward Chapel down through the years.
All right now. Let's go back down home and sing some of our old songs. Listen. Down through the years, the Lord has been good to me. Yeah, down through the years, the Lord has been good to me. Yeah, down through the years. Yeah, Lord, show up good to me. He's been good. Oh, show me. All the rest of my life, I'm gonna praise His name. All the rest, I'm gonna praise His name. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Lord is good to me. Down, down through the Lord has been good, so good to me. So good. I know you are feeling good. So really good. Anybody know he's good? Oh, yes. He's been real good. Been real good. Showed up been good. Yeah. When I say about when he won't be wrong. When I say I'm gonna be wrong. My soul looks back and wonders how I made it over. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, bring it up. Bring it up. Yeah.
Pastor, maybe turn your camera off. Camera.
Chapel's pastors and members have always been active supporters and members of the Peoria branch of the NAACP from its inception. It was under the leadership of the late Reverend Blaine Ramsey, who at the time was the first vice president of the local NAACP branch, that Mark Clark came seeking a home for the local Black Panther Party's free breakfast program in 1969. We are pleased to have in our midst someone who knew Mark Clark, the man, the activist, the community leader, and friend. In fact, he personally gave her a membership card to the Peoria Black Panther Party. I present to you Evangelist May Catherine Godhigh, minister, author, and member of the Peoria Historical Society.
Good afternoon. My name is May Catherine Godhigh, formerly May Catherine Thomas. I've been asked to share with you some of the most memorable moments that I had with Defense Captain Mark Clark. And so today that's what I'm going to do. Defense Captain Mark Clark and I met back in the 60s before Peoria's urban renewal. We were both from the same side of the railroad tracks. He lived on 7th Street and I lived on the corners of Sanford and Globe Streets. Mark and I were both active members of the NAACP Youth Council. At that time, I was serving in the capacity of second vice president of the NAACP Youth Council, and Craig Melvin Smith was our Youth Council president. He is now the founding pastor of Freedom Hillside Church, located outside of Chicago, Illinois. Mark and I were both young activists, and our assignments included creating signs for the NAACP marches, which was led by Mr. John Gwynn, who was then the president of the Peoria area chapter. Mark was a multi-gifted human being. I found him to be somewhat of a shy guy, but with a brilliant mind. He had a quiet demeanor and sometimes appeared somewhat elusive. Later, I would come to realize that what we had in common was that artists are not wired like everyday people. Mark was a phenomenal artist, singer, poet, actor, and leader. And during our Saturday morning NAACP meetings, which was held at Carver Center, Mark and I, in those sessions, would always sit beside one another. And in his creative energy, he would draw images for the signs, and I was the tagline artist. During our projects, we would engage in discussions about feeding programs and clinics, which were already established in the Oakland and Bay Area out in California. We would discuss the philosophies and directions of current leaders such as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, SNCC, and the Black Panther Party. Remember, at that time, the majority of Black families here had the iconic pictures of Dr. King, President John Kennedy, and Malcolm X, and white Jesus on the walls in their homes. Our discussions began to expand. my thought process towards civil rights and human rights. My perspective changed and fashioned me into the woman that I am today. One day, on the corner of McBee and Webster Streets, right across the street from the church, I believe it was Kojic Church, Holy Tag, Mark met me and sold me my first Black Panther newspaper. The cost was a whopping 25 cents. And I remember that I had to sneak that paper into my Baptist born and Baptist bred house. The more I read those papers, the more I discovered that our freedom and equality was much more than the dream that Dr. King had envisioned. It was a lifelong fight for Black people. During the 60s, we were still viewed as 3/5 of a human being. But let me tell you, Mark's inspiration soon took hold. My bedroom walls were already filled with posters of Motown celebrities. I quietly began to incorporate Huey Newton, Angela Davis, and Stokely Carmichael. My mother noticed my transformation. And one day she asked me, she said, "Kat, what are you trying to be?" I simply replied, "A civil rights lawyer." One day, Mark finally asked me about obtaining membership in the Black Panther Party. He educated me about Chairman Fred Hampton and the Chicago chapter. Mark told me that Chairman Fred had plans to eventually visit Peoria one day to speak. I told him I wanted to join, but my mother could never find out. So I paid him $1 to join, and he promised to keep our secret. So about 2 weeks later, he briefed me on the Panthers 10-point program. Then he presented me with a crafted membership card, along with the latest edition of the newspaper. A year later, Mark was gone too soon. Mark was my mentor. Mark was the first friend in my young life to be murdered. I carry that trauma even now. In our short time together, Defense Captain Mark Clark poured into me the importance of global education. That passion and commitment lives in my heart and my life today. Mark taught me how to become a critical thinker and not to fear the systems and trappings of the corporation called America. Mark kept our secret. When I was 20 years old, I finally told my mother that I was peacock proud to be an undercover Black Panther member. She looked at me and responded, "Baby, I already knew." 55 years later, I am no longer undercover. Mark would be pleased to know that my membership is current. I say to you today and always, power to the people.
Because FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover had conducted such a mass smear campaign against the Black Panther Party nationwide, Houses of worship were reluctant to be associated with the party in any way. Pastor Ramsey, being the social activist that he was, coupled with the fact that he was a part of a denomination actively engaged in the freedom movement across this nation, felt the breakfast program made good social sense, not to mention godly sense. Ward Chapel opened its doors, and that was the beginning of a collaboration that provided school-aged children with a nutritious breakfast before school in response to the extremely high levels of poverty, particularly among Black families. As a side note, the Black Panthers free breakfast program provided the impetus for the government-sponsored feeding program established under the Nixon administration. As time passed and the needs in the community shifted, we began to see a rise in the homelessness, particularly among men. The audience shifted, but the commitment to feeding the hungry remained of utmost importance. Under the pastoral leadership of Reverend Oscar Creer, Sister Gloria Wilson, better known in Peoria as Mama G, took over the management of the breakfast program. Mama G joins us tonight with a look back in time, circa the 80s. Help me welcome Mama G.
I'm Gloria Wilson, and I am from Texas. And the reason why I got started in the feeding program is because my parents, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-uncle, they raised us to help other people. So when I was asked to go to a meeting about the free feeding program, I didn't hesitate, I was ready to go. And we was always taught whenever someone asks us in church to do something, to do it. Whether we like it or not, they say do it. So we went to a meeting, and that's when they started to get the food from the hospitals and stuff. So when the food came in, I really didn't like the food because it wasn't anything that my parents or I would give to my kids. So then we started to go to the stores and we bought food, real good food. Bacon, sausage, eggs, grits, pancakes, whatever we thought we wanted. There was a lot of people that were just anxious to help. No, we didn't have to ask anyone to do anything. They all came willing to help. We started breakfast at 6:30, and at 7:30, everybody had ready to eat. We only fed, I only the home, we felt a home. So if I'm homeless, then hymns come and pray. And then we would go ahead and serve everyone. And actually, and I'm glad Theo took over. And now that Mr. Mosley is taking over, that's really nice. But anytime, anything you want me to do, I am willing to help.
And by the way, if you turn around, May Catherine Godhigh is right behind you, and so is Mama G. Following the phenomenal work of Mama G and her team, the ministry continued under the leadership of personalities like the now presiding elder Adrian L. Johnson. Reverend Kimberly Hayes, with the help of a few of her girls, Rania Johnson, Janet Davis, Adrian Johnson, Yvonne, we call her Booby, and others picked up where Mama G left off under the pastoral leadership of the Reverend Larry James Bell. Reverend Kim, in her own inimitable way, shares how she pulled together a team to keep the breakfast ministry going. Let's hear it from Reverend Kimberly Hayes.
Hello, my name is Reverend Kimberly Hayes, and I have been a member of Ward Chapel A.M.E Church for over 30 years. I am very proud to say that the breakfast ministry at Ward Chapel has been a cornerstone of our church's outreach, providing meals and fostering fellowships in the 61605 community for many years. I served under the leadership of Pastor Presiding Elder Larry J. Bell, served with some amazing people, Presiding Elder Adrienne L. Johnson and her husband Maurice Johnson, Sister Marjorie and Brother June Alexander, Sister Janet Davis and Brother George Davis, Sister Rania Johnson, and just a whole host of wonderful and amazing Ward Chapel volunteers. Our goal simply was to make sure that the doors of the church were open on Saturday morning, and not just a hot meal, but a good hot meal was being served for those who come through the door and were hungry. Also, in addition to that, during that time, once a month, under the leadership of Janet and George Davis, we were able to provide the food share program. The food share program was simply a program that provided affordable meals to families in the community. Those baskets included meat and vegetables and fruits and a whole list of items. And so, along with the breakfast ministry and the food share ministry that took place once a month, we were able to stay strong and stay committed to serving the 61605 community. I hope that I can say on behalf of all of those who I served with, now knowing and understanding the origin of the breakfast ministry and with it being under the leadership of Mark Clark, indeed, it is an honor to say that we were able to serve the community, especially since we know where the root or the roots came from. And so as we get ready to launch the breakfast ministry again, I thank God because I look forward to serving again. And also I know that the Ward Chapel breakfast is going to be a blessing to our community again. And I also pray that that it'll be a blessing to the Mark Clark family, knowing that it's up and running again. God bless you.
Reverend Kim is in the house. The breakfast ministry continued to flourish, and under the pastoral leadership of the Reverend James Bailey, Brother Leslie Williams and Cleo Carter were asked to lead the ministry. Brother Williams and Brother Carter cut a deal. Williams said, "I'll do the heavy lifting if you will handle the management end." The partnership was a match made in heaven. The ministry grew to the point where we were serving anywhere from 100 to 125 people each Saturday morning. The ministerial team was placed in rotation, providing 30 minutes of spiritual reflection and prayer, followed by the hot breakfast. Beyond the meal, the ministry provided personal hygiene items, clothing, and packaged foods. Sadly, Leslie Williams succumbed to cancer, leaving Cleo Carter to run the breakfast ministry by himself and his team. Being the consummate manager he is, Cleo Carter provided the church with critical data. Each month, he let us know what the cost per unit was to serve our client base. He increased our donor base and our volunteer base to include community volunteers. Through our volunteer base, we received a $10,000 donation, which enabled the church to purchase a new industrial stove. Brother Cleo taught the importance of branding. He introduced Ward Chapel Breakfast Ministry t-shirts with Matthew 25 verses 35 and 36 on the back. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. Please join me as Brother Cleo Carter shares his experience with the breakfast ministry.
Hello, my name is Cleo Carter, the former director of the Breakfast Ministry Program at Ward Chapel A.M.E. Church located in Peoria, Illinois. It was my pleasure to have been given the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to have served for a total of 11 years. But sadly to say, my tenure ended in 2020 during the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic for obvious reasons. In 2009, I was asked by Pastor James Bailey to take over the responsibility of directing the breakfast ministry at Ward. At this time, I was already involved in helping out with the ongoing food pantry program at Ward. I think Pastor Bailey, among other things, just wanted to give the current administration a breather, if you will. Yes, I accepted the challenge, as previous administration had put in numerous long hours and years of service in this capacity and was ready and deserved a change. My experience as director was challenging but yet rewarding as we grew from feeding a few people to feeding a significantly large number of outreach recipients, both spiritually and physically. People were coming from all over the city, and a significantly large number of these people in attendance were from 61605 area. Many were homeless and in search of a hot meal, clothing, medical attention, and a place to fellowship with others. Lastly, but not least, some had a desire to hear the preached word. Strangely enough, we were able to provide all of the above, plus more, and on a weekly basis at the Lord's Ward. Believe me when I say this alone had a profound impact on my spirituality and my trusting in God as my provider. In concluding, I want to say thank you to Mark Clark for his wisdom in the development of such a great program. Thank you, Ward Chapel, for putting in the time and resources to keep the ministry alive. And may God continue his blessing upon outreach programs throughout the world. Thank you, and God bless.
And thank you, Brother Cleo Carter. He's in the house tonight. March the 20th, 2020, Governor Pritzker called for the citizens of Illinois to shelter in place. There was no time to pivot or shift gears. We had to shut down. Everything came to a screeching halt, including the breakfast ministry. Like ministries across this nation, we are still adjusting to the new normal, balancing in-person worship with virtual worship. This hybrid ministry is a new and permanent model, which has made it necessary to focus on increasing our technological capacity. That being said, we heard the clarion voice of God calling us to return to Jesus's command to feed his sheep. Under the progressive leadership of our new pastor, the Reverend Cyrus J. Burns, and the recently appointed manager of the Lord's Ward Breakfast Ministry, Brother Thomas Mosley, we are pleased to announce the relaunch of the breakfast ministry on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025 at 8 a.m. Yes, you heard it. It's coming back. Brother Mosley's life has prepared him for the task of not just relaunching the breakfast ministry, but expanding it further to further meet the needs of the people we are called to serve. No one can tell a story quite like he can. So I present to you Brother Thomas Mosley.
I'm Thomas Mosley. Elder Elaine asked me if I would be willing to participate in the Community Development Corporation for Ward Chapel. And I told her that I would, and I would be very honored to do that. Specifically, she would like for me to work on a Mark Clark Memorial Park project, and give you a little background on myself. I was born in Western Kentucky, which is a Jim Crow state, and my family moved to Peoria when I was 9 years old. I happened to be living in Kentucky in 1963 when President Kennedy was assassinated. As a kid in the third grade, playing on the playground, the older kids were coming out crying and saying that the teachers were crying, and I developed a curiosity of why that was so. And throughout my life, I often wondered, why did it appear that the Caucasian race was living so much better than us? And so as I grew older, I began to formulate my mindset as to how I would like to go through life. And I always would be working with, talking with my mom and dad, and they would explain various things, such as, how life is for Black people. And, I just was always frustrated because things seemed so much harder for us. And, as during the 60s, mid to late 60s, the Black Panther Party would be walking through our neighborhoods, delivering pamphlets, and typically it would be teenagers, because the Black Panther Party would like to bring the younger Black kids into the party to educate them on their rights and to educate them on how to make a difference in our neighborhoods. As I went on, it's like that I've always wanted to do something to help our people. And I don't know, it's just hard to explain, but as I grew older, went through life as a teenager, I started doing things, got in trouble, but I always had parents that were there to help me through life and to help me go in the right direction. But I joined Ward Chapel, and I sat in the fifth pew in this church for almost 2 years, and I would have been quite content to do that. But I was moved by the Holy Spirit to join this church, and I joined the choir. So during some of the meetings in the Community Development Corporation, it came up that they were going to reinitiate the feeding program or the breakfast ministry. The pastor Burns, was canvassing to try and find someone to help with that program. And by hearing the things that I heard from being in the meetings, it came up that Mark Clark was the initiator with the church of the feeding program. And that touched me, and I volunteered to become the program manager of the feeding program. And I'm just looking forward to doing that. We have a good team, and we're working and trying to implement this program in a sustainable manner, and continue to do God's work as far as helping hungry and helping people that need help.
Thank you, Brother Mosley, and Brother Mosley is in the house as well. Some 20 or more years ago, I came in contact with this church called Ward Chapel. There was something about the members. They all had a swag about them. They were not arrogant or puffed up, though. They just entered the space with confidence. They knew they walked in favor. As time went by, I had many occasions to visit for meetings hosted by Ward Chapel. I had an opportunity to witness the breakfast ministry in action. I saw men on bicycles, in wheelchairs, and on foot making their way early on Saturday morning to be fed body and soul. It was not just an ordinary breakfast. There was an assortment of pastries, assorted meats, grits, potatoes, pancakes, freshly scrambled eggs, juices, and coffee. I'm hungry now. Everyone received plenty and was offered an opportunity to carry out the leftovers. It was something to behold. I was personally moved by the fact that those who came were hungry not just for a free breakfast, but many came requesting prayers and for a word of encouragement to get them through the week. As the newly assigned pastor, it is my vision that Ward Chapel, the Lord's ward, will restart the breakfast ministry in the same spirit of the originator, Mark Clark. I want to see this ministry grow from feeding the hungry to meeting the needs of the community as Mark intended. We intend to continue and build upon the great legacy of Mark Clark by engaging in social action, social justice, and uplifting our fellow sisters and brothers. Ward Chapel is proud to have been a part of Mark's vision to feed the hungry in the community when no one else will lend a space and a helping hand. We intend to lean forward, push forward, and move forward as we ride this wave of service in the community that was started by Defense Captain Mark Clark some 56 years ago. May his spirit of service and his legacy live on, that all may know of his contribution to the community.
At this time, we want to take opportunity to invite Robert Clark. And won't you come introduce your family members and just greet us, say what you want to say. Come on. We need you to come to the table so that the people online can see you as well.
Yeah,
take your seat.
It's all yours. Watch that cord.
Well, thank you, Pastor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ward Chapel. I've been here and I've lived here in Peoria. And, the service that you've provided here has just been tremendous. Layla, I really appreciate this. It's been 55 years to get to this point. Right now, I'm just, I'm just full. I couldn't even ask God for nothing right now. Because this right here, to know that the honest man, the most decent man that I ever knew in my life, is getting honored today. That means so much to me. I know that God he's smiling right now. Um, my experience here in Peoria, when I was a kid coming up and having Mark around, he smoothed everything out for you. He would tell you how to remedy a situation. His compassion for you, and really, I couldn't see it being a difference with who it was that you were. This was not about racism. This was about fighting the U.S. government and its policies. This is political. And anybody who don't realize what political means need to look at what's going on right now today. Because they don't care about color right now. They're doing what they're doing to everybody. And see, Mark wasn't just fighting for people of color. He was fighting for people in the world. This is about being right, about being honest, about dealing honestly with people. And you're never going to be able to deal honestly with God if you don't deal honestly with your neighbor. It's time for us to come together and do these things that need to be done in this country amongst our own selves. We can't rely on the government to do anything for us. It's us and God. Today I have my brother Luke and John. Wave your hand, Johnny. And I have nephews, Casanova, Daryl, Craig, Tori. And these are some of the best young men that were produced up out of this family. And we got good, honest men sitting here today. And we're going to represent honestly.
Thank you so much. And you honor us tonight with your presence. I can't tell you what it means to me to meet you all. I met your sisters and just consider me a family member this morning. It's connecting it all, and it's just making it all make so much sense. And you're so right. The timing could not have been more perfect. The word of God speaks of the appointed time. It's always an appointed time by God. We may not understand why it took 55 years, but when we read the newspaper and hear the news, we can certainly understand why now. And so we thank God that God has brought us all together for such a time as this. And we're looking forward to what God is saying to us moving forward as we continue to serve our community together. Want to recognize the presence of one of our neighbors and one who is working with us, the pastor of Bethel United Methodist Church, my friend and brother, the Reverend Tyson T. Parks. Won't you stand and let the people see? He's also a board member of the Ward Chapel Community Development Corporation. You'll be hearing more of it in the days coming.
But right now, Layla, we want to take it back to you so that we can determine whether or not there are any questions from those who are part of our online viewing audience.
So right now we don't have any questions. I think everybody was very intent on on this beautiful program. I would like to say or ask a couple of things. First of all, Ward Chapel is a perfect example on what the party intended. When they started the Free Breakfast for Children program in communities, it was for the communities to take it over and to serve the people. It wasn't for the party to continue, to serve everybody in the community. And it's just so beautiful how Ward Chapel took that on. The other thing I wanted to know about for the relaunch, and I heard everybody saying how people came from all over. How are we, I've been to Ward Chapel, but I don't know Peoria that well, or like where a homeless encampment may be, or shelters or anything like that. So what are we doing to bring those people who may need it and people in their homes who may be hungry also out on May 3rd?
I'm glad you asked, Layla. Very good question. I'm happy to report to you that we've got foot soldiers. As we are sitting here tonight in this presentation, downstairs, we're a polling place. So people are coming through the doors downstairs voting. I can tell you that as people are coming in voting, they're asking when the breakfast ministry is going to be relaunched. There are people who are coming in, and as they are voting, they are testifying to how the breakfast ministry blessed their lives. In the primary, a young man stopped, literally disrupted the voting process, but it was in a good way, because he wanted everyone in their voting to know that this was the place that was responsible for helping to save his life. He said he was at a low point and he did not know where he was going from there. But because of the consistency of the breakfast ministry, the word that he received, the clothes that he received, the free health care that was available to anyone who did not have any insurance, he's able to state that today he's no longer homeless. Today he has a place of his own and he's standing on his own 2 feet. In other words, he's feeling like a man all over again. He wants to be able now to serve in a place that once served him. So the answer to your question is the word is already going out. Each one of us are going to be our own voice, if you will, sharing with others everywhere we go. And of course, we will use social media. We will use all the media that's available to us, television, radio, etc. But the best advertisement there is word of mouth.
And doctor, it's very hard to ask for help when you're down. So to have a place where somebody who's hungry and you can kind of like play it off too, like, oh, I'm going over to the breakfast program, but there would be people that are seriously in need and be able to have dignity while they get help. The other thing, and there are some, I'll be right to the chat in just a second. I told y'all I could talk for an hour. I have another question. Is the structure that you are in right now, is that because we heard what you said about what Pastor Burns said, how it started as a 10-person church, and that's why when the city just started, it's the oldest church in Peoria. Now, how old is the structure that you're in right now?
Is this what is what 1964? Looking to folk in the room. Reverend Williams, how old is this structure that we're in?
This one here?
Yes.
When is it?
1953, I think we started.
1953.
1953 and 54.
Reverend Williams, can we get you, let me just turn my laptop around. 99. He's on the front row. Raise your hand, Reverend Williams. 99
Oh.
years young. He's the local in-house historian.
Hey, I need to talk to him on May 3rd.
72 years of history, membership and service to this church. This structure is 72 years old. Thank you, Reverend Burns. So that's how long we've been in this. I think this is either the third or fourth structure.
Well, I was over at the old church on Munson Street.
Oh my goodness, you were at the first. Oh, Reverend Williams said he remembers Munson Street. And if you've ever read the history of Ward Chapel, that's where we began.
Okay. Yeah.
My.
So, okay, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to tell everyone that the Black Panther Party Heritage Trail in Illinois is starting with 13 sites. 12 of those sites are in Chicago, and Peoria is the only site outside of Chicago for the inaugural trail. And I really hope that the message on why we would want Peoria as mandatory, Ward Chapel as part of the inaugural trail is becoming clear. We lost Mark on December the 4th, 1969, and the family is pleased, but we're pleased, and so is Ward Chapel, to have an opportunity to honor him. We have our plaque. The church is going to let us put the plaque right on the building in honor of Mark, Ward Chapel, and the Illinois chapter. So we're all just having a love fest right now. Now, let me go to the chat because I do think we have some comments. Oh, we don't. We don't have any. Okay, so I'll pass it to you, and we have a surprise going out. You just pass it back to me if you wanted to say any more words before we end the program. And I like to say hello to the whole family that came down. I met some of you in Chicago. We'll be there on May 3rd to volunteer, and I look forward to meeting more of you.
Before we close out tonight, I'd just like to extend an invitation to anyone who has a volunteer spirit to come out on the morning of May 3rd and to join us as we relaunch the breakfast ministry, as we work arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, feeding those whom God sends. So consider that your official invitation. Use your voice and tell others that we will be here and we will cut the ribbon. We have invited the mayor and our local councilwoman and others to be a part of this joyous celebration. I'm going to turn it over to the hands of Pastor Burns to have final words, and then if you'll turn it back over to Layla.
I got to interrupt Pastor Burns, as you're used to. My sister and our board chairwoman told me that the chat was disabled. So Pastor Burns, if you like to talk, let me tally up some of these questions. Okay, they're coming through. Okay, so
I'll be very brief, and I'll be
Yeah.
brief and just turn it over to you. I'm just excited to be here. The short time I've been here since September, October time frame, and thank Elder Elaine. She's been at the tip of the spear for the development and also remembering Mark Clark. So I'm just excited to be here, that my name can go in the record book to Pastor Ward Chapel, the Lord's Ward, the place where Mark started. Amen. The originator, defense captain Mark Clark, where he started, he was able to launch the breakfast program. So just happy to be mentioned in the same sentence with that name.
And would those of you who down through the years worked on Saturday mornings in that kitchen and in the prep room, would you stand wherever you are in the sanctuary and let the people see you?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it again.
There you go. All right. Absolutely.
That was not said in the piece that you're doing for little minuets with everybody. I'm Carrie Wilson. I have been at Ward Chapel.
Come this way so you stand in front of the camera. Turn around this. Come over here. There you go. Yep. Now.
This way? Okay. So anyway, I've been here. I'm a transplant from Galesburg, Illinois, which our claim to fame is we are on Central Congregational Church is one of the stops on the Underground Railroad. So we are very much with the family and whatnot. And so I came here in 2003 and started volunteering with the breakfast ministry while I was in school. So it would have been about 2006. And then my work schedule changed and whatnot. But one of the things that I wanted to say that was missed in the piece that was put together is, yes, people came from all over the city in wheelchairs, on foot and whatnot, and we would hand the food out on the ledge. And one of the city council people saw that, and this structure sits in what they call a tax increment financial district. So there was TIF money that they were able to build the wheelchair ramp down there with that money. I don't know if it was Reverend Gully that was responsible for that, but anyway, I just thought that that should be said, that they could see that there was a need and that people couldn't get into the building because there was all stairs, and they would come and we would hand the food out the window, and so they thought that wasn't nice. So,
well, just one correction: we weren't handing food out the window; they were actually dining in downstairs, but we did not have the ramp. I'm speaking up because I wrote the script, and often when you do the writing, you don't include yourself. I also wrote the proposal.
Sweet.
And so I wrote the proposal, and we were awarded $149,500, which is how we were able to put in the ramp downstairs. So thank you, Karen, for reminding us of that part of history. But it was because of the history of the feeding program and the historical significance of the ministry here that the city found favor with Ward Chapel and the breakfast program. And we were successful. And as a matter of fact, the only religious organization that received any of that TIF money. So you can pat ourselves and, and thank God that we found favor at the time. Again, thank you so much, Sister Karen.
Okay, thank you.
So mostly we have comments from Susan, blessed to have learned this history. Sister Rose, Mark's youngest sister, said beautiful program. My sister said very nice program. And she wants to know, in an unrelated question, since Ward Chapel is a polling place, are you participating in the 4-5 protest against the current administration? Is that in Peoria?
I think that's supposed to be nationwide.
I think it's supposed to be nationwide. Yeah.
Okay.
The answer to that is not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Would you like to, I think it was Brother Mosley who talked about the Community Development Corporation. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that and about our next meeting, which is our last online meeting on April the 15th before we are in person at Ward Chapel?
On April the 15th, we will have another presentation similar to tonight and the previous presentation, and that is to take us to the next phase, because ultimately we want to honor the legacy of Mark Clark in a very permanent way by designing and cultivating and creating the Mark Clark Memorial Park. And let me say, this is not a recreational park. There will be no swings and slides. Ain't about that. It is a contemplation center. It is a center that will be devoted to the promotion of peace. A center that is devoted to giving back voice to those who have remained voiceless, particularly as people of color, unsung heroes and sheroes like Mark Clark, whose voice has been silenced due to oppression and discrimination. And so we want to use this as an opportunity to bring the community to this site on special times in people's lives. We pray that this will be a place where other families who lose loved ones to violence and other forms of trauma, that they will be able to come to this place and find consolation. We hope that this will be a place also where we can have some truth-telling, racial reconciliation, and transformation conversations. Because you can't move forward until we tell the truth.
Amen.
Amen. There is no reconciliation until we tell the truth. There are other groups across the nation that are engaging in similar type activities. And we want to be this kind of place because that was, as I understand it, as I hear from each and every one of you, that was the true legacy of Mark Clark.
Yes.
And with that, we're all going to turn our cameras off because at the start, we're going to go to Ward Chapel's tech person, Brian. He's going to play the video from the top, and because we didn't get a chance to see it, so we're going to turn our cameras off, but don't log off. And I want everybody to repeat after me. Long live the spirit of Defense Captain Mark Clark.
Long live the spirit of Defense Captain Mark Clark. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
All right. Let's go back down.
Audio just cut off. I think somebody went on mute. We can't hear. Long live the spirit of Defense Captain Mark Clark. Thank you all for joining us and have a great night. All power to the people.